on spring break actually. I had contacted my friend Courtney Crooks, and she says, hey, we can get a bunch of girls together and go on spring break. So she got her friend Nicole and Brooke, and then her dad Greg came along, and we all were like partying on the beach, and I had drank too much, and actually Courtney and Nicole were like, Brooke, Makenna, we're gonna find you husbands this weekend. And I said, yeah, whatever, I'm just gonna hang out with my girls. And I was drinking too much, and Bryan was walking by himself on the beach, so I like called at him because I was being obnoxious, and I was like, hey, and he like looked up at me and then looked over his shoulder and just kept on walking straight. And my friend Courtney stood up, yelled some profanity, said, get your butt back here, but different words obviously. And he was all abashed and came up, and I went and like kicked around the cooler and like basically wanted to bury my head in the sand because I was so embarrassed that I was obnoxious like that. And he was like trying to give me my number, and I kept on pretending I was like an Alabama cheerleader with like the worst twang you've ever heard, and he couldn't even understand me. And he's like, here, take my number so we can hang out. And I said, how? I'll just write it in the sand. And my friend Courtney, love you, Courtney, she said, let me get it on my phone. So she went ahead and she put it in her phone, and we hung out all spring break. And then on my drive home, I called him. We had a 6-hour conversation, and that's how it started.
Makenna and I met in my sophomore year of college. Makenna's a year older than me, so she was a junior. We were at Orange Beach. I was down there with some of my fraternity brothers. She was down with some of her friends. And for me, spring break was not going so well. So I kind of made the decision. I'd called my dad, like, hey, you know, think I might, you know, just come home and spend a few days with you guys. But first, just gonna take one last stroll down the beach. Spring break's not going so well. Almost got into some trouble. So I was like, cursed trip, I'm going home. So I was gonna take one last walk down the beach, and I was walking down, and as I was walking, I saw, you know, in my left eye, I was like, man, there's just a really just pretty girl over there. And I thought in my head, I was like, God, you know, I'd give anything to have a girlfriend like that. Like why hasn't that happened to me? But whatever. So I was just kept walking, reached my turnaround point. I was on my way back, and I look over, see the girl out of my right eye, and she waved at me and said hi. Kind of looked around, and I was like, is she talking to me? Kind of like a deer in the headlights look. And I was just kind of put my head down and kept walking because I was kind of nervous. So until her little 5'2" friend stood up and started yelling obscenities at me. And when that happened, I was like, well, I guess I got to walk over there now. So I walked over and started talking to them. And Makenna kind of tried to hide her head in the sand because I didn't think she thought I was going to walk over there. So that was my first impression of her. My initial thoughts after meeting were, well, she was kind of drunk the duration of that trip, so thought she was kind of crazy, kind of wild, extremely extroverted. But I could tell that she had a good heart, so just the way she'd kind of talk about her family and kind of where she was from and the people she was around. I mean, you could tell, or I could tell, that she was a good person.
I thought he was really cute, and I thought he had he was really fun because I was being obnoxious and pretending I was someone that I wasn't, and he like kept up with it, and he kind of bantered back and forth and was really witty with his responses. And then he kind of pursued the matter because I kind of felt like, okay, see you later, and he wanted my number and wanted to hang out, and then I got kind of flustered. So I mean, I don't know.
We started dating, let me see, I met her in March. We started dating in April. I came up here to visit her, which I don't think she thought was going to happen, and we spent that weekend together in Easter with her family. And on the way down, she was like, "Hey, you know, we both kind of decided like we can do this." So April 11th, we officially started dating. So 1 month after.
Talked on the phone like every single day for hours and hours. and then he decided that he went to North Georgia, so he could only go places whenever we had like a holiday because it was a military school. So he had stuff they had to do, and he was part of a lot of specialty groups. So he actually, the next time that I saw him after spring break is he drove like 10 hours all the way up for Easter with my family. So he came up, drove all the way, hung out with my family, went to church, went to all my school functions, played tags with all my cousins, and about a week later I asked him like, okay, are we official? Are we boyfriend and girlfriend? And he was like, sure. So that's how we started dating. Did I know the proposal was coming? Yes, even though I probably would deny it, because we had, at that point, he proposed last September, and about midsummer, I had graduated college, and I was kind of stuck with what I was doing in Ohio. I enjoyed my work, I enjoyed having my friends and family, but everybody else was kind of going off and doing things, and basically my life was just, my whole calendar was work related, and then it was countdowns to see Bryan, and I was like, okay, I'm done counting down, like, I'm done giving my money to Delta, like, we need to make this official. So I had talked about it enough that I think the power of suggestion might have won over. So yes, I want to say he has entered into this willingly, but I definitely did suggest a lot. I didn't know when it was coming, but I knew that it was coming because he told me it was, so I didn't know when though.
How did I propose? I spent months researching diamonds. I literally became, like, I like to think that I earned an unofficial minor in gemology, but the way I proposed, once I'd gotten the ring, I got the ring about a week before she was coming to visit me, and I told her, I was like, hey, we're gonna go to Montaluce Winery, which is a place we've never been. One of the big things for me in our relationship is taking Makenna to do things that we've never done. So I said, hey, let's go to the vineyard for dinner. So we went out there. I had the ring in my pocket. We were actually gonna have dinner there, but unfortunately it was closed, so I had to kind of spin the story. I was like, oh, well, they open in like another 15 minutes, but we can walk up to the balconies and all that kind of stuff and get a better view. So we went up there, and I started to kind of talk to her, told her to maybe take a picture of the view, kind of distract her for a second so I could pull a ring out of my pocket, and then I got down on one knee and asked her, and I had pre-positioned some friends who were pretty impressive photographers to right at that moment to come down and start taking photos. So she was very surprised and very happy, and she started crying, so I think it worked.
Bryan proposed to me when I went down to visit him in Dahlonega, Georgia in September, on September 11th actually. I came down to visit him. I was getting ready. He was living with Jake Torno at the time, and I went out to the car, and I knew something was funny because Bryan says, oh, I forgot something. He ran inside, and Jake was talking to me, and Bryan came in and sat down in the car, and he goes, we're gonna go to the winery. And Bryan hates wine. Like, Bryan loves his craft beers, and that's it. He's not really a wine connoisseur, but I love to drink my wine, so I thought that was a little bit fishy that he wanted to go to a winery. And we went to Montaluce, beautiful open vineyard, and we drove up, and we were the only car in the parking lot, and I said, this is kind of weird, like, or is it closed? And he goes, oh, it'll open in about a half an hour, we'll just be the first customers. So I said, okay, let me get a picture for Instagram. So I stood at the end of the parking lot trying to get like the entire vineyard in. He goes, well, let's go upstairs and take a picture from the second story. So I climbed the stairs, got to the very corner, and he's like, let me move some couches for you so you can get a really good shot, you know, because I'm such a great photographer. And he moved everything for me, and as I was taking a picture, he said, this is so beautiful. And I said, yeah, it's really pretty. Like, what filter should I use? And then he like held my hands, and he's like me that like he thinks I'm very kind and beautiful and smart, and he could see himself growing old with me, and I was kind of like, okay, that's really weird, and thank you, you too. Like, see myself growing old with you too. And then he got down on one knee and proposed, and a photographer came down from the second story, and Jake was there with his iPhone and was clicking away, and I was like doing my like ugly Oprah cry face. So that wasn't really attractive. And then we opened up some bubbly, and here we are.
Is there anything I want to say to Makenna? I know I'm not perfect. I know that I can be very hard to deal with because, unlike you, I grew up alone. So I played alone. I lived alone. Everything I did was kind of on my own time. But no matter what I do or where we go, all the things, the great things that people can do in their life, I want to do it all, and the only way I want to do it is if you are there with me every step of the way. No matter where we go, what we do, what we see, what we experience, I want it to always be you and I going to do it. And that I promise that I'll do my best to fulfill that.
Something that I want to say to my new husband. I'm really excited. I'm really nervous. I really hope that whatever you have in your mind built up of what you want for a life partner and what you want in a wife, I hope and I pray that I can be everything that you want me to be. And I really am excited to start our life together and not have to count down days and not have to save all of our money to go and see each other. And I am excited just to hang out with you and spend time and build a life and a future together.